to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, comment and subscribe and click on that notification button to get a notification every single time that I post. I post on Thursdays and Sundays, so you can definitely look forward to nutrition related content on those days. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right on into this video. So first things first, disclaimer, this video is purely for educational and entertainment purposes. So if you have any specific needs, please go and speak to a professional who can help you with your case. Let's get right on into this video. So today we're going to be talking about mental health. I think it's something that's very important, and it's something that is so important to speak about, especially during the time that we're in. I think that it's been a really tough time emotionally for everyone for various reasons. I mean, first of all, just the isolation that comes with being in lockdown and the anxiety that surrounds, you know, experiencing a global pandemic is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. We all have really been struggling through this time, whether we realize it or not. I think that this time has really affected us all mentally. Even just looking at, you know, what the research says about mental health and the effects that being in quarantine or in isolation have on us as human beings is so mind-blowing, because what I see in the research is exactly what either I or my loved ones have experienced. So that feeling of confusion, that feeling of anger, the anxiety, even anxiety-induced insomnia are some of the symptoms that we all may have experienced during this time. And the anxiety can be induced by just, you know, the reality of the situation that we're in, the fact that we're having more than 100,000 cases now. Yeah, just the reality of that situation. And I think also just the financial constraints that have affected so many people during this time. Yeah, they've really affected a lot of people. And not only that, I mean, if you're going to think of financial constraints, you also have to think of food security, and that's been a major issue during this time for the majority of South Africans. You know, there's a lot of social safety nets that have been put out there by government in terms of extra sort of grants being given out and food parcels, but those don't always get to the right people, which is very frustrating, you know, because it's supposed to get to the people who need it. So yeah, that's just an example of some of the things that people struggle with during this time and in general. And I think that it's so important to acknowledge the effects that this time has had on all of us. I mean, whether you're someone who's at the front lines or you're someone who's working from home or whatever it is, this time that we're in, we have to acknowledge the psychological effects that this lockdown is going to take on all of us. I just wanted to speak about basically my experience mentally during this time and what has helped me, and I'm hoping that this is going to help some of you out there as well, because I think we need to support each other during this time, especially because we've passed the 90 days. It's been more than 90 days of being in lockdown, and life has been so different from what we could have ever imagined it to be at this point. So yeah, I think I just want to shed light on how I've been coping and what I've been going through and how it is like to be sort of an essential worker during this time. So as a dietitian in a district hospital, what we've seen is that, you know, we're still having the same sort of caseload. Well, actually, what I saw was that we're still having a similar caseload in the beginning, whereas now the caseload has significantly reduced. We have a lot less outpatients coming into the hospital. I think it's been a majority of the hospital environment during this time initially was quite scary, because it was just difficult to navigate. I mean, it was new for all of us, and it's not like, I mean, usually you would rely on your supervisors for guidance during this time. We're all new to everything that was happening. Yeah, it was just a really, really tough time. Initially, I was very anxious all the time. Obviously, I followed all protocol in terms of wiping hard surfaces in between patients and hand washing and sanitizing. And I think that gave me a lot of peace. Yeah, I guess at this point, it's become such a new normal. I'm in such a routine of how I do things. So yeah, I mean, also my colleague and I, what we have to do to reduce sort of the number of people in the hospital, but essentially because there's two of us and the average patients per day that we get an outpatient basis is like 2. We work shifts, so most hospitals work shifts, or most hospitals departments try and work shifts to reduce the number of people who are in the hospital or being exposed to the hospital environment, because obviously that's quite a dangerous environment in terms of exposure to the virus. Yeah, I don't know, like my experience, the things that have really helped me during this time is the fact that I live with people is honestly the best thing, and my housemates have really gotten me through this time. I mean, we would exercise together, and just exercise and that release of endorphins and all the benefits of exercise really helped to reduce my stress and anxiety that sort of came with this virus. And I think that that was really beneficial to me, and trying to create some goals of what I wanted to achieve and trying to implement healthy habits. We're creatures of habit, and it's so important to try and capitalize on that and to create healthy habits that are gonna help you to make really good decisions for your own health. And yeah, just making a lot of things more a part of my lifestyle. I mean, during this time, it's given me a lot of time to just focus on those things. I think a lot of people who maybe are working from home as well have had a lot of time to reflect, and I think that's really important as well, to think of doing moving forward for your own mental health, to sort of reflect on the things that bother you and ask yourself why, and try and do better and find ways to sort of cope better when, you know, life happens and when things are quite stressful, you know. So yeah, I think that healthy habits are one of the best ways to help you during this time. But I do know that this time has been especially hard for people who struggle with their mental health, especially because we've had to be so socially isolated. A lot of people rely on social interactions to stay mentally okay and mentally grounded, and now that we don't have that and there's no sort of distractions, I think that's been a really tough time. I think that was something that I struggled with initially, but honestly, moving to Englobo at the beginning of this year was a blessing, because everything that people sort of struggled with during this lockdown is what I struggled with when I first moved here. The social isolation of being, you know, in such a small town, very far from civilization and the faster pace of life, which I'm very used to. Also just the isolation and the separation from family. This was the longest time that I hadn't seen my family. I hadn't seen my family for 6 months. When I lived in Cape Town, my brothers were also studying at UCT, so it was very easy for me to see family. Sometimes my dad had to be down in Cape Town for some work, so it would never be more than 2 months or 3 months before I see my parents, and it would never be sort of more than 2 weeks or a month at most before seeing my brothers. But yeah, I think that this time takes a lot of getting used to, and I think that the thing that's helped me is to try and stay positive, you know. Another thing which surprisingly worked was also just not looking at the news or like the numbers of corona all the time, because that's very discouraging. Yeah, when you see what's actually happening in terms of the number of confirmed cases, it would cause me a lot of anxiety, and to the point where I would have anxiety-induced insomnia on more nights than I can count. So it got to the point where I literally had to tell myself not to even look at the numbers, that I'll only look at the numbers once a week, and that's it, because if I did anything more, then it really affected me. But yeah, I think that's another thing, just trying to find ways to, you know, keep yourself informed but also protect yourself, because yes, it's important to know what's happening in the world, and so that you can, you know, stay informed, but at the same time you also need to protect your peace and protect your mental health. And if that means you don't look at the numbers all the time, I think that's okay, you know, as long as you know what the regulations are, and whenever regulations change, you're able to stay up to date with that and obviously go with that. But yeah, I feel like protecting my peace is something that I have really learned to do during this time, and I think it's something that's going to be really yeah, it's gonna be good for me in the long run. I think this video is gonna be quite short, which is also okay. I just wanted to sort of let you guys know that your feelings are valid. What you're feeling during this time is completely valid. We're all human, and this time has not been easy on any of us, financially, emotionally, physically, you know, like we're all out of our elements, we're all out of our routine. But I think that we've sort of gotten to the point now where we accept and we've acknowledged that this is going to be our life, and this is going to be our life for some time. And I think that at this point it's so important to start creating healthy habits around the lifestyle that we have to lead at this very moment, to stay healthy, to keep your mental health in check, physical health, and yeah, and just in all aspects of life, just to stay healthy. I'm very grateful for the support that I've had from the people around me, and I can't imagine how it must be like to live alone during this time. And for the people who are living alone, I think that it's also important to still create some sort of community, whether it's Zoom sessions with friends once a week or speaking to a loved one every day, you know, just so that you continue to maintain some sort of social interaction. Yeah, I think that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and click on that notification button to get a notification every time I post. I post on Thursdays and Sundays, so you can definitely expect nutrition related content and health related content on those days. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.